This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Dead man walking.
Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling.
Coming to you live from Dinobot Island, we bring you the Dirty Manroom Show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster. Monster, how we doing, brother?
I'm all right, sir. As everybody can see real quickly, Big Rob's on assignment this week, so he's not able to join us. So, unfortunately, it's just two of us this week, but hopefully we will be able to get back all together. I've been on assignment a lot lately, so I know you guys did a show not too long ago, and it's been busy. It's been a very busy first couple months of the year here, and like you were saying right before we turned on the recording that even just this month already, it feels like it's been a long month, and we're like 6 or 7 days in, so...
Yeah, there's a handful of days in. It's like, wow, this month's been forever. But yes, I guess it's been one of those years so far, and we're very early into it.
Yeah, it's going to be. It seems like. Yeah, it's not. It's going to be one of those. That's like even today, like or not today, just this week since like I went Monday after work and had to do some errands and stuff that I needed to again yesterday, and man, it started thunderstorming and raining here, and I'm like, I'm just not going outside. It's still thunderstorming and raining today. Supposed to again tomorrow. I'm like, at some point, this has got to quit. All the snow finally went away. Now it won't quit raining.
I washed my truck 2 days this week. Literally, 'cause I got one of those pass things, where you can go unlimited times. So I went one day and it like quit halfway through my wash. Like just stopped.
I remember seeing that.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. So I went to go back the next day and it was still shut down. So I went back yesterday. And it actually done a good job. I was like, okay, I'm good. My truck's shining. It looked like a diamond. I got up this morning, and I guess it had rained just enough last night to make this red clay road I live on adhere to my truck. So by the time I get to work this morning, there's like mud on my running boards. There's the dirt on the side. I'm like, why?
I can feel you on that. I've been sitting waiting. I was like, I needed to go wash mine after all the snow and everything. Because here, once it snows and then stuff dries up on it, so you got spots all over that you need to clean off, and it looks like dust and dirt, but it's not. It's from the snow, and then there's salt that comes up to the undercarriage from where they salt the roads to keep them melted down. And I need to go wash it. But then as soon as I wash it, like I was gonna go wash it this weekend, and it said snow on Sunday. I was like, well, not going to go on Friday or Saturday and get it washed now because there's no point because it's going to do that again. Then it's rained every day since. So some of the dust will be gone, but some of it, like on my backup camera, none of that stuff will clear because that's like, not where
that's the worst.
I'm like, come on. So I still need to go get it washed. But at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to wash it now because it's supposed to rain the rest of this week and into next week. So whatever.
And you don't realize how reliant we have become on backup cameras. Used to, we didn't have them, right? That was a luxury.
Yes.
My wife's vehicle, and it has its own a backup camera, but the way it's positioned, it just sucks. And if her car is dirty, because if I don't go wash it, it doesn't get washed. So her backup camera will have Cleo on it a lot. So I'm sitting there like doing this, trying to, anytime, we go somewhere in hers, and I'm like, woman, for the love of God, we got to pass. Go wash this damn thing.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that because that's a between you and her thing, and you have to convince her of that.
No, I have to just go watch it.
It's part of your duties.
It is. It is.
Oh man. Well, I think we said we were gonna skip Geek Week this week just because we've all been so busy, haven't had time for much. But I do have two things I do want to share with you because we haven't talked about them. We talked this a while back about WB Cell going to Netflix and them doing it, Paramount fighting back, and Paramount fought back and finally ended up winning this, but not because they actually won it. It's because finally WB said, okay, they're giving us so much money, Netflix, you need to do something else. And Netflix's response was, it was a good thing to have, but it's not a must-have at any price. It was a good thing to have at the price we offered. It's not a must-have at any price. Be gone. Do your own thing. So now,
Well, didn't Paramount have to pay Netflix to withdraw their bid?
Yeah, there's still all kind of stuff that's going on with payments for
I,
that stuff and all. So
yeah, I'm not so sure what the red tape was, but it was like a substantial amount of money for
th-
them just to withdraw their bid.
this whole thing is a ridiculous amount of money. I'm sorry, nothing in the WB library, even if you get
Nah.
HBO Max and all that, there's nothing that's worth that much. Not for
And
what
I'm
they end up
sure,
paying.
and see, like Paramount Plus is one of those apps that literally I was just about to cancel, and I still may, just depending. I don't know. Because I have it. I got it back when Yellowstone was on. That's the whole reason I got it. And I have watched Landman. I enjoy it pretty good, and I've seen Tulsa King, but they're not must, and there are things that they do come on Hulu Live. Like I can,
Yeah, sure.
I can somewhat stream it through there without having to have that streaming service. So, and the movie selection, you get a occasional movie here or there, like
Yeah,
Running Man, I think was on there, but you get nothing to just do. I need to spend $12 or $15 a month or whatever it is. I forget what it even is.
I pay
It's
$7.99 a month for it.
I think I got the one with no ads or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's like
I pay for the ads. I don't
it's
care.
14 or 15 bucks a month, but I never watch it. Literally, I never even I forget I have it because I have to go through Amazon to even find it because I like. I guess if you get it through Amazon, you have to go through the Amazon Prime app because if you just go to the Paramount Plus, it's like it doesn't recognize your account.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I got it straight through Paramount, but I got it for other things like the Star Trek stuff and all that. So there's several shows that I actually watch on there and enjoy it. I'm not gonna say it's not a bad app, but it's not the best one out there. It's just that you know I get that Paramount's gonna get all the movie selection, all the HBO shows and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, what are you really getting out of that? Because there's nothing I go on HBO and watch. Honestly, the superhero
It,
shows and the occasional movie, and that's about it.
literally, I several times I have toyed with the idea of dropping HBO Max, but then there's just enough here and there to where it's not worth the headache of dropping it. You know what I'm saying? Because you just
Yeah,
had to go back and get it. Because like I really enjoyed A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That was like really great. House of the Dragon's about to fire back up, which House of the Dragon's a little hit and miss for me. It's kind of but I'm invested at this point. I forgot what the hell happened in the first two seasons at this point. It's so long between, which I hope they don't do with Night of the Seven Kingdoms. They say they're not, but they said the same shit about Welcome to Derry, and here we are. They're not even sure they're going to greenlight season two yet. After initially it was, oh, we're greenlit for 3 seasons.
so since you went there, I'm just gonna go straight into my second subject because after going out that I wanted to share because after going out for the holidays and stuff not coming
Mhm.
on, I was like, okay, I need something to watch. You said watch Night of Seven Kingdoms. Terrible show for me. It was
What the?
completely there is nothing in that. It's so I said okay, I'm not digging yet, but I finished watching it. Wasn't
Yeah.
that good? I said, all
Wow.
right, maybe it's because I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. So I went back and tried to watch that, and I'll say I was binging through it, but it's not good. I got 4 seasons in, and I got to the point where I'm just done with this. This is not that good. So
Wow.
I, I I get what people like about the political intrigue. I don't care
Okay.
about that. If I want to see political intrigue, I watch Real World. I'll look at the news. So so it didn't do anything for me. The only thing I found interesting in that entire show was I liked I don't remember Jon Snow's story up there, like
Yeah.
learning about the Night Walker stuff. That was okay. And then Daenerys and her dragons and taking over that was the only political intrigue I enjoyed, and it was only like on that just for her, so maybe a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. Kit was more, or not Kit, Kit Harington, I guess is the actor's name, I believe, but his storyline was the only one that was like, okay, this is like a 7 or 8. So if it'd been those two storylines alone and like half the amount of seasons and episodes, I'd have watched it.
Well, that's the thing. If you made it to four, because they went to what, seven, season seven, something like that, or was it
I
eight?
think it's 8.
From about roughly thereafter on, it's pretty much their story. I mean, you get some episodes where it's about Tyrion or you know Bree, and there's a lot of really good stuff when they start the free folks start joining the fight to battle the White Walkers and stuff like that. It amps up and gets a lot
That's
damn better.
that's the only thing because I for knights and stuff like that, I like the sword and sorcery part. I don't care about everybody doing the incest and fighting over the throne and all this. The political
Yeah.
part of it, I could care less about. It. Like I said, so
It
it was
becomes
hard to
far more
watch.
mystical in the later seasons. So you would enjoy stay the course just to say you finished it. I'm telling you, until you get to season 8, you'll be happy. Now season 8, you can just quit watching and not go back, and you'll be
It,
fine.
but I tried, and heard so many people talk so much. I'm like, and everybody talks about how like the red wedding or whatever is like the best thing ever. I'm like, this shit's not that good.
Oh, dude, the Battle of the Bastards. That episode alone, when you get to there, oh, dude,
I don't know.
dude,
It just
that's
wasn't.
one of the best episodes in television.
It just was not that intriguing to me. And then I was like, all right, if it's good, I'll watch House of Dragons. And I finished A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but watching Night of the Seven Kingdoms to me was like watching the first 4 seasons. It's like there's stuff going on, but like there's one scene maybe in an entire episode that's okay, and then the rest of it's like this is boring and there's no story to it.
Wow, I really enjoyed Egg and the Hedge Knights story myself. Sir Duncan. I enjoyed the dynamic between the two of them. The Targaryens were pieces of shit, with the exception of the black, and then he got killed.
So
So it's like,
like when he
oh
come when the Duncan dude gives the speech and tries to get people to join him, like this one guy sounds like okay, this part's not bad. This has been the only good part out of it so far. Then the guy stands up and farts, and then the one you're talking about comes riding in and joins him, even though he's part of the Targaryen family, and then
mm.
he gets brained in the head. I was like, well, that was good for about 5 minutes, and then he's dead. It's like
Yeah,
it's
I
just
did hate they killed him off. I was really hoping to see some further expansion. Like I said, I haven't read the book, so I know apparently that's what happens in the book. But I did enjoy the Baratheon character, even though he's nowhere near as honorable as Robert. Before Robert became a drunken king, of course. But he's an enjoyable character to me. I don't know. I enjoyed it myself. Everybody's different though. I mean, House of the Dragon is the one that's kind of like to me.
I
Now
don't know.
it's nothing but dragons and lore and stuff like that, I guess. But
I just couldn't get into it. But and again, like I said, I like the sword and sorcery stuff. So if you're going to give me dragons, I need Dungeons and Dragons. I don't need dragons and who's president today.
you would probably enjoy House of the Dragon a little more than.
I might. I haven't tried it yet, but I've got TV shows coming on again now after the holiday breaks and stuff's back on. So, because at the point in time, a lot of even my comedies, because I got a few little sitcoms I still watch, and they're kind of like vacuuming noise. You turn them on, you could watch them while you're vacuuming, and not worry that you miss like 5 minutes of it. But even with those back on, I'm like, all right, I got enough stuff to watch right now. So, kind of been catching
It's
up on
almost
that.
baseball season, so that's really the only thing I have upcoming. There's really nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that's like, oh, I got to watch this. And I'm sure I'm probably missing something, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
And to be honest, as much as I used to really enjoy anime, then got out of it for a while, and then the kid got me back into it watching Solo Leveling. Then we started watching a few others. Like he brought up one this past week. It's like it's a sword and sorcery one called Jack of All Trades, Party of None, where this one kid that was training to be part of what they call the heroic party, because they have different party of people who train. They go to different levels of this dungeon to try and fight the demons and stuff to come forth. And for whatever reason, his party kicks him out of the heroic party, and they really haven't explained that part yet, at least not from what I've seen, because I'm only on like episode 7, because it's still running, but it runs 1 week subtitled in Japanese. Next week you get that episode dubbed in English, and they've only got up to like week 7 of it so far. But like he's completely overpowered. Like as soon as they kicked him out, he's like, all right, I'm going to show you all I'm better than you. He went and learned all this magic, and he's creating spells, and like one of these spells he does, they call it a buff to give him more power. And like he does it, and then he does it like 5 more times. He's got 5 levels of additional buff to his power, and everybody's like, "You can't do that." He's like, "Yes, I can." And he just walks over there and kills this black dragon. They've all been trying to fight, and nobody's been able to kill it. It's like, okay, this is actually entertaining, and I like stuff like that. And I'm like, so when I'm watching that, then I turn around and watch Game of Thrones. I was like,
Are you not
comparing.
entertained?
No, not in the least.
Fair
But
enough.
with that,
I bet some people will drop in the comment that they are Game of Thrones and Seven Kingdomers.
I'm sure they are, and And I'll take all the hate for it. I'm not a fan of it. But then again, I'm a fan of other things that other people are not too. So it's
The world it takes different folks, right?
yeah, which is something we're going to get into today because we're going to do fandoms, but we're going to talk about what we consider our top 7 action figures of the 1980s. So we're just going to jump straight into that now for our focus topic. But there are a lot of toy lines that started in the 1980s, and we talked about doing the 80s and the 90s, and then we said, okay, let's break it up and do 2 different ones because there might be some different ones, but we're not going to talk about the toy lines themselves. Like we may talk about why this is important to the toy line for us, but it's not the line; it's the actual individual piece out of that toy
Yeah.
line that was like, hey,
It's not the line. It's not our Rushmore. It is
no.
like our top 7 favorite figures for us in the 80s.
And since you said Rushmore, that's a surprise for a later episode. It's a spoiler for one that's coming at some point for different things, but we got to figure out logistics on that because we do need Big Rob back for that one as well. But for today, we're going to talk about our top 7. As how we always do this, we'll give our 7. We'll give an explanation of why. We may have some honorable mentions as well to talk about. And we're going to go back and forth. And there's no order to these lists. I'll be honest, my only order to my list is I threw it in alphabetical order just because by the time I went through it all to make sure I didn't miss writing one down, in my final notes, I went back and put them in alphabetical order to make sure, okay, because I was crossing stuff out as I was like, okay, this wins out over that. Other than that,
It was hard to narrow it down to 7. I'll be honest. Like
really
literally, I
is.
was kind of going through last night, and I was like compiling my
So,
list, and then I was like, shit, I kind of want this, but I can't. But this, in some ways, edges it out.
for real. And then I ended up to the point where I cut it down so far, and I was like, okay, I've got 7, but in honorable mentions, I have just as many honorable mentions as I have in a 7, because most of these could replace one or the other for the most part.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, we're free to jump into that now. So, since everybody knows about it now, if you want to share your 7 with us afterwards, drop yours in the comments, or if you want to ask questions or disagree with ours, feel free to drop that in the comment as well. Just remember, these are our personal favorites, not that these are the most influential or the most important. As Hassel said, that's kind of Mount Rushmore territory when you're talking that, but in this case, this is just what's
Yep.
important to us. So, Hassel, I'm going to let you run first, man. What you got for your first one?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into one, not only because I know it's going to be a crossover for both of us, but this is one that to me it was what started it all for me because I just remember he was the first that thinking back on like when I was a kid and starting to collect action figures. Right? I say collect,
Play with and collect.
play with action
Yes.
figures. This was the first one that I just truly I remember it. It sticks with me, and it became a obsession where I had to have every one from the line, and that's He-Man, the OG himself. I had to have him,
I,
and Battle Cat just he's a side with it, but you know what I'm saying. Had to have the OG He-Man.
I had that on my list, and actually, I have him sitting right back here behind me, sitting on Battle Cat. I still have him. Now, I don't have his silver sword. He's got a blue sword that came out of one of the weapons packs because that's the only one I still had left at that point in time. But I agree with you. And not only was it so important because, for a personal standpoint, yes, this was easy to get at the time because they started before the G.I. Joe 3 3/4 inch, which
Yep.
eventually between those two, that was the competition for the cheapest figure to get for your parents. And
Yeah.
let's be honest, money different back then, but our parents could buy stuff, and it was He-Man and GI Joe could be bought easily because they were cheaper. But He-Man was more plentiful and was the first one there because it was also the first one that you not only could get the figure, but you could see it live on television. Live, I say live, but you could see the animated form on television. It wasn't just that you knew what it was because you saw a movie and then you could have it, or you could or that you could read a comic and then buy a figure of it, or you just know what the character is, or somebody else knows what it is and buy something of it. You had the 30-minute long commercials every day to
Yes.
influence you to want to get it. So He-Man was on my list absolutely as well.
He was the first for me because I just remember I was hooked, and then you had it's 60 episode seasons,
Yeah.
which is unheard of today.
Oh,
That would break down to, my God, 50 seasons for most shows. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I loved it, and so he had to be on my list.
yeah, same here. And again, was it my favorite character from He-Man? He-Man probably was, but very close second place. And sometimes I like the design of him better with Zodak. But figure wise, He-Man was the one that started, so I would have always picked He-Man over Zodak, even though I wanted Zodak as well.
And an odd honorable mention for me out of that line was Too Bad.
That
I
was
don't know
cool.
why. Just as a kid, that was so cool to me because he had the two heads, and then the arms placement was, where they done the thing like this.
Yeah.
It was just so different at the time.
Oh,
So that was definitely an honorable mention for
they
me.
had so many that I started off on my list and would have to cross off when I
Oh
was
yeah,
getting. But Cyclone was cool
yeah.
because he had that spinning and he looked like He-Man. I liked Fisto because he had
Roboto,
Roboto was cool. Zodak,
the
as I
gears on
said,
the inside that actually worked. That was so. It was just it was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. The
oh
toy line
yeah,
was. It was very very creative. Each character had his own. If you just even if you didn't watch the show, you could randomly see a figure on the shelf and say, "Oh shit, this is cool. I want this."
and when that line ended and you had She-Ra next, there was ones in She-Ra I went like Bo from She-Ra was really cool and he had the bow and arrow and I'm like, oh, as a kid I liked the guys with the bow and arrows and that was a cool thing to check out.
He had a cool porn stash too. I mean, he wasn't playing around.
Yeah,
Did he even have a soul patch?
no, he did not. Seahawk did,
I
I
don't
think.
know. Okay, I don't know why I'm remembering with a soul patch too, but I'm like, he was a player. He's a player.
But I will say maybe we do this too. So if you have an honorable mention that's from the same line of toys, let's go ahead and
Fair
mention it now
enough.
versus doing it separate. I don't have an honorable Motu one just because after He-Man I said Zodak was the next closest one, but he didn't make my honorable mention list because I had so many others. I was like, oh, these have to go, but I'm not going to take that as well. But you said your honorable mention list had oh gosh, Too Bad on it.
I definitely had Too Bad on it. He was my guy.
Well, since we both had that same number one, well, what did you have for your number two?
Man, my close number two, and like I said, I didn't put these in really any order, but
Right.
this is another one that
Fair.
was like sparked just the imagination for me, and that's the OG Optimus Prime. Of
Okay.
course, we all lost his fucking hands. However, that figure himself was just it stands the test of time today. He's one that if you look at today, he's even still kind of fun to play around with. Because I got grandkids now, so I give them to them, and not my old figures, but they've got reproductions,
Right.
and it's still want to kind of sit down and play with them and like dilly dally with it some.
Yeah. So in fairness, did you have any other honorable mentions for Transformers before I mention my next figure?
Oh, I guess my only other one really was probably Soundwave.
Oh, that's a good one.
That figure there, that was like because I never had Megatron as a kid growing up. So Soundwave was my Megatron. He was my leader of the Decepticons. Because we used imagination. That thing that you kids don't have today. Imagination. So I was like, this is my guy. He had the mouth like Prime too. Like I kind of in my mind pretend he was like just as badass as Prime. Because we might have missed some episodes growing up here and there.
That's fair. So I'll say that I'll start with my honorable mention because I had two Transformer honorable mentions that I was torn between as honorable, and that was Blaster and Hot Rod. Mostly because Hot Rod had a cool transformation sequence that was like a little bit more engineered than some of the others.
Hmm.
But he had a cool look too for a car back then. But Blaster was just a really cool figure for me and a really cool character altogether. So I was really into him. But yeah, those are honorable mentions. But for me, Prime didn't even make my list because honestly,
Oh
for the
wow.
Transformers, I went with Ultra Magnus
Ooh.
because he
Okay.
was Prime, but he had more too. Like I had both of them. I had Prime and I had Ultra Magnus, and I actually had Power Master Prime too, which is where you would fit in the trailer and it would become part of it.
Mm.
To me, that was cooler than regular Optimus because as much as regular Optimus was cool, this allowed you to build on to both of them with extra features. But I
He
like,
was a headmaster. Yeah, his
yeah,
motor became the head, and
yeah. But I say between Power Master Optimus, where the trailer transformed, and Ultra Magnus was a character, and I was like, okay, I like Ultra Magnus a lot as a character, and I've got a Prime body, but now he's got armor, and this is really cool. So I went with him for my list with as far as that's concerned, because I thought okay, this is actually even more better than Prime to me at that point in time. Now, did I think the character was better? No, the toy, yeah, it stood out to me.
fair enough. Fair enough.
So, what do you have next, sir?
I'm going to dive into the world of those heroes on a half shell, and I'm going to go with Metalhead.
Oh,
I
that
don't
was a
know
good one.
why. He was just such a fun figure. The robotic look of him. You could do so much with him with your imagination. Like he could either be a hero on the half shell with the four guys, or he could be the evil, you know. Like I said, we would pretend things. You know what I'm saying? So he might have been created, and you're playing that day. He could have been created by Krang and Shredder to
That
go
is
in after and be like a Terminator. Because I was a kid that got to watch Terminator. I shouldn't have,
well. There
but
was
however, Terminator was like something I watched as a young kid. So it was like he was a robot, a Terminator turtle.
there was a
That's what I used him
episode I'm
as.
pretty sure where he was actually taken over by them, if I remember
Oh
right.
yeah,
Excuse me. And that so
I'm pretty sure there were, if I remember right. I did go back and rewatch some not long ago, and it seems like I do remember that. But
yeah, it
just back then, things were in syndication. So if you didn't catch them that day, you might not ever see a particular episode.
yeah, but you get to watch them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed those. And then I so for me, I actually didn't put any Ninja Turtles on mine. I had two of my honorable mentions, but I did not take them to the top seven just because it came a little bit later. And while they were all cool, they were all kind of very similar too. So it's hard to get one that stands out from the others. But there were two that I really enjoyed having as a kid that I would have struggled between choosing. I think I like Leonardo as a character better, but Leonardo and Donatello, both of them, the toys for whatever reason, were the first two I had, and I like the weapons and all the loadouts they had, and I just enjoyed the characters more. So those two both stood out to me a lot.
Leonardo and Raphael were the first two I had.
I think I got Donnie and Leo at the same time, and I had both of them first, and then later on got Michelangelo, and then far later on got Raphael, just because he was for whatever reason. I know he was the most popular one for a lot of people, but he wasn't for me. But he was also harder to find sometimes for whatever reason.
He was, and like I remember, I got Leonardo because he had swords.
Yes.
Because my mom was a bit, I was too, but my mom was a huge Conan fan. So like, if she thought something was kind of neat, I could get her to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was able to get, Raphael with the size, and then Leonardo because he had swords. So I was like, hey, it's kind of like Conan. So then later it was like I was trying to sell her on the other Donatello and Michelangelo. She's like, "You already got two turtles. You don't need two more." I was like, "Mom, I gotta have them all. I gotta have all four. They're a team."
Yeah, that's true. Um, so since I didn't have one of those, I'll give you the next one on my list, and I'll go to a different property. So I'm gonna go to one that's it's a little bit of a cheat because it gives you a vehicle and a figure, but I had to pick one from Mask because
Ooh.
it's a combination of a figure and the vehicle, and the vehicle was almost like a transformer, and the figure was like a very much I don't want to say a much smaller, but a smaller version of a GI Joe character that's part of a team with special skills, and then you got the vehicle. But yeah, out of Mask, while I liked, there was two of them I struggled between, and for reference, I never had the Rhino because I really like that and I really want one, but I'm not buying those new ones just because of the quality on them. But
Yeah.
I had the Condor with Brad, which was the motorcycle, and but the one that I
Hmm.
picked for my list was Matt Tracker with the Thunderhawk because he had the coolest look and he had that car that just did all the neat stuff and turned into a flying vehicle. I was
Hmm.
like, that's really cool, and it stands out because you got the best of two worlds. There were GI Joe and Transformers in like one toy.
Yeah, I think we all kind of had uh, Condor. So and that one, that figure, that does hold a huge affinity in my heart. I remember that vividly. How fond I look back at that. But like I remember my cousin, he had the Thunderhawk and he had the Rhino.
Yeah,
He had like the band, and that was one of my favorite ones. Like, see, they were kind of out of my price range. I could con mom into like a couple of figures here and there because she felt like she got more bang for her buck if she bought me
yeah.
like say three figures for $20. But if she had to buy one, mask at like 15 to 20 bucks, that was like a no. So it was hard to get mom sold on that.
I mostly got them for Christmas or birthday, but I had the Thunderhawk. I had the Jackhammer, which was the black bad guy vehicle that was in the first season where it would raise up with the gun
Hmm.
turret. I had the Condor, the motorcycle. I had the other motors. I liked motorcycles a lot when I was a kid. Never really got around to buying one as an adult. Rode some. I did like that, but I never bought one
Hmm.
of my own. But I liked the one they had called the Bullet, where it was the racing motorcycle with the
Yeah.
with Alibaba or whatever his name was, the Indian character that drove it, that it turned into like a hovercraft. That was a really cool one too.
Two of my favorite that are kind of obscure was the '57 Chevy with the flames
I
that
never had
jacked
it.
up with the huge wheels. I actually had it. I'd done some bartering about when we started trading later.
Yeah,
Uh, that's how I acquired it. And then my cousin, he had the van that dropped down and had the plane on the inside, the little
I
jet.
remember that one. I did not have that.
That was just really cool to me.
I did forget I had the other one too. That was the Jeep that opened up and the boat shot out of it. That
That
Dusty, I
was
think
that
was
was
his
a cool.
name,
Yeah,
had.
that
Yeah,
was a really cool one.
that one got broke pretty quickly though. The others held up pretty well, but yeah, I remember a lot of those. They were all fun. I just didn't have as many of them. But with that being said, I've got four left on my regular list. Are you at that same point, or do you have more?
Let's see. I got four left.
All right, so you go ahead with your next one.
So two of my four are in the same realm. So I'll tackle them both together, so
All
to
right,
speak. But I had to dive into the real American heroes,
that's fair.
so
I
to
did too.
speak. So one of them is version two Storm Shadow, the Joe version.
Okay,
That to me, that was just such
that
a
was a
neat,
cool
cool
figure.
figure. Like, cause I mean, part of me wanted to do the Cobra version of Storm Shadow, but as a kid, I never had him. I got him later in life, obviously, but
Yeah.
when I was a child, he was just he never I never were able to obtain him. Um, but I did have version two, uh, Storm Shadow, and he was a favorite. I always liked Storm Shadow better than Snake Eyes, even though I do love Snake Eyes. But he was my guy, and on the Cobra end of it, because I had to have a Cobra as well. I went with that Battle Android Trooper. Man, he had a hologram for a chest, detachable fist, a cool backpack, and a great look. You got that Cobra Commander face on
Oh
him.
yeah,
That was such a badass figure to me. Coming up, man, those were two that I
that's
just
fair.
loved.
So did you have any honorable mentions come out of Joe's too, or did you just pick two on your list and left them out of the honorables?
I have some odd ones actually. Barbecue and Dusty in Deep Six, version two Deep Six. That was like three of my favorite Joes. I mean, everybody had to. We all loved him. We all
Yeah.
had
Well,
your
I
core
actually
team. We all
I
had
did
those, but
not. I did not have the original Duke. I didn't get him until the later release where he had the flat top and the red shirt. For whatever
okay.
reason, I was just
I
never able to get him.
I actually had him, but like I said, Dusty, version two Deep Six, and Barbecue. I just thought they were it wasn't per se my favorite on the show, but I enjoyed the figures the best. Once again, imagination, right?
Yeah.
You could use them in so many different ways when you're like sitting on the floor playing with your figures. That they done so much.
Joe's was one of those that was because, and we'll jump over to my side of it now. But Joe's was one of those that was so hard to pick out because there was so many cool characters, and I had so many I really cared about. The one I put on my top seven was Flint because
Ooh, yeah, that was a good one.
Flint was one of my favorite ones because I liked the leaders anyway, and I liked him with his beret, and he looked cool, and he was a fun toy to play with. He was
Mm,
one of the ones I had too that held up the best. With like the ring never gave out, the joints never gave out. I mean, they got a little loose, but not to the
mm.
extent some of the others did. But out of the characters, I was like, I had to look at okay, what figure do I like, and then what character as well. So in that case, I had to take Flint, but honorable mentions, I had put Dial Tone in there, and I did not have the original barbecue.
That was a fun figure.
Yeah, the original barbecue I didn't have for a long time, but I had the Slaughter's Marauders barbecue. And even though I like the original colors better, the Slaughter's Marauder one was
Mm.
kind of cool with the blue and green on it. And he stood out to me, and I always played with him. But man, there were so many others I had to cut. Like Lifeline was one of my top figures.
Mm.
Like even though he was the pacifist of the team, he was just cool looking. And he was on the show a lot, so I was like, I really like him. I liked Recondo and
As a
Outback.
kid, Beachhead was one that I could really do a lot with because he had the mask, so you could almost
Yes,
get the vibe that he was like a combo ninja slash soldier.
yeah.
You could kind of use him certain ways.
I had him and played with him a lot. I think him, Outback, and Recondo were usually my folks who were sent out on like recon missions, and then they had to come back and join the rest of them and help out. But there was a lot of them. It was hard to whittle down the GI Joe list. That was probably the worst part of it, was trying to cut.
And maybe that's a show for a further day is our top 7 GI Joe vehicles because
Oh,
I'm sure that would be very easy to do.
probably. Well, easy to come up with a list, hard to whittle it back down.
That would be a tremendous amount of honorable mentions.
Yeah, and you share two from your top 7 list right there, I
Yep.
believe. So in that case, I'll go ahead and jump to one of mine, so we'll be back on even ground. But I'm gonna go to Thundercats because
Ooh.
fun toy line. They had the action features as well, and the light up eyes. That was one of the coolest things. That little ring thing, you can make their eyes light up for the call. But I had to go with Lion-O, which was hard because I did have a very close second on that. But Lion-O was my top one out of there.
I did. None of them made my list actually, and I was surprised because like they were on there for a while, and then I was like, when I started whittling down, I was like, my last two, I was like, I think I got more enjoyment out of those last two than I did Thundercats, as much as I loved Thundercats.
Yeah,
And we all had Mum Ra, we all had Lino, because that was like the staples that I think every kid, you almost got that one year. Everybody, it's like if you're breathing here, that these are yours.
yeah, and it was also too one of those things where when it came around, it felt like we were going back in the other direction where we were getting a little bit bigger figures because you went from Star Wars were small figures, and then you had GI Joe, which were small. He Man in
Mm.
between there was a little bit bigger, and I was like, okay, that's cool. But GI Joe was smaller. Now Transformers was all different sizes from mini cars to others, so that made sense. Mask was small figures, and then you get to Thundercats, and it's like, okay, we're back up to the bigger figures, which is something we kind of missed, other than the occasional, even the superhero ones at that time, like the Secret Wars and Superpowers, were done in that small 3 3/4 scale. So it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I was
this
saying
is
most of
more
them was
substantial.
probably 4 inches at best, 4 to 5 maybe.
Yeah.
But
So
it let me ask you this. I mean, when you got into your Thundercat phase, we all went through a phase of it.
yeah,
Did it make you dust your He Man off at around that time? Because they were close enough in scale, even though they were smaller, obviously. But they were close enough to where you could say, okay, it's reasonable that Mum Ra be so much taller than He Man. But that you couldn't play Joe's with Thundercats.
no,
Obviously, you
no.
couldn't play Star Wars or anybody else. But you could get away with the He Man. Did you dust your He Man back off for that?
I would say I dust them off because I don't think I ever put them up. But He Man, Ninja Turtles, and Thundercats, and some other toy lines we might bring up, Silverhawks could be played all together because they were kind of similar
Okay,
in size. Now
fair
GI
enough.
Joe, I would usually play with GI Joe with Transformers if I was mixing and matching them, just because the size difference when you get those guys next to this. Like, okay, it's not really in scale, but it's close enough that I can live with that.
I think the only other things I can remember that were in scale with those were the Chuck Norris figures and the Rambo figures.
Yes, that is true.
And yes, I did play with all of them together. Somehow or another, it worked.
Yeah, and before we jump to the next one, I will go ahead. My honorable mention for Thundercats that it was hard to choose between because I liked Lion-O better, and that's why I ended up choosing him. But for whatever reason, I was a huge Tiger figure fan. Like I
Ooh.
liked the Tiger figure. And then there was two different versions of them with two different ways they sculpted the head. I
Mm.
don't remember which one specifically I had out of the two. I'd have to look at them and try to remember, but I just liked him, and I really liked Bengali, but I never had him as a figure because I thought he's a cool looking alternate version of Tiger, but because I liked his outfit better as well as the white and black popped a little bit more than the orange and black coloring did, and I was like, I
Mm.
want him, but he was almost impossible to find, so I never had him. But Tiger was
I-
a
I'm pretty
close second.
sure. I'm pretty sure my Tiger was the version 2. It wasn't version 1 because I had like Lion-O, I had Tiger. Well, I'm pretty sure version 2, and then Panthro,
Yes.
and that was the only thing I could. I never had Chitara. But the figure that I had to cut off the list that I guess would be my honorable mention was actually Monkeyin. I
That
don't
was a
know
cool
why
figure.
that was such a cool figure to me as a kid. He had his his mace and all that stuff, and it was just like it was just neat.
He was the only one of the mutants I had.
I actually had all of the mutants, and like mom, I could get her to buy monsters. I don't know my mom's weird. Yeah, I mean you've met my mom. Uh, so she's weird. So like I had Sly, I had fucking Vulture Man, I had Monkey, and I had Mum Ra. I mean, I think I had a couple of more of the more obscure ones later on, but yeah.
That's good. I had Monkey and I had all the cats. I even had Cheetara, but The only version I had of Wily Cat was those small ones that came with Tiger and Cheetara, where they were on a stand, they didn't move.
Oh,
So
yes. Oh, like Green Army Men.
yeah, so I had all them, and I did not have Pumar, and I did not have Bengali, but I did have Linkso.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I was able to get him, but I didn't have the other two.
That's cool points right there.
Uh, I mean, he was pretty cool to me because he was kind of the ninja of the group outside of Panthers, fighting with his nunchucks.
So let me ask you this before we jump into the next one.
All right.
Did you always feel like Panthro was the black man of the group?
I
He was he was the color, without a doubt.
I guess so. I didn't really think about it, but yeah, probably so.
Well, Lionel is your basic white guy, without a doubt. Oh, what are you doing, guy? I mean, he's as white as you get. You get the feeling like Tiger could kind of maybe be mixed,
So
but Panthro was a brother.
Tiger felt to me like he was the old wise man of the group because he was the while Panther was an engineer, Tiger was like an architect and all these other things. Like he designed Cat Slayer, so he kind of came off like the old wise man and did the magic trick and stuff. So where he would turn invisible. So
Panthro to me was like Jazz was in Transformers. Like you just knew
fair.
he was the cool guy of the group. You know what I'm saying? It was like he had the soul.
Transformers did that with a lot of characters. They like try to give them that personality. Like Blaster and Jazz had a different type of cool guy personality. You always felt like maybe it was just me, but Trax was kind of the metrosexual member of the team and stuff. Like he just came out like I'm not saying he was one way or the other, but because they were robots, but he had that type of feeling where he's like a city guy who's very metro. Like he's not going out and doing this or
Yes.
that on the weekend versus other things, and that may
He's not
sound
getting his
bad.
tires muddy, ladies.
No, and that may sound bad, and I don't mean it to. It's one of those things where it's like he had that kind of personality. Optimus was your inspirational leader. Ultra Magnus was your by the book, army
Mhm.
army type general or whatever. So it was kind of they really built personalities far more than some of the other shows did. Now GI Joe did that a good bit too, I guess, but some of the others is kind of like you get one character of that, and then everybody else is like interchangeable.
Now we started getting character development, probably with the Joes, Transformers, things like that.
Yes. And He Man felt like everybody was kind of on the same plane except for like one or two of them.
Yeah, everybody, you just had to punch your boxes
Yeah.
on He-Man.
Yeah.
Get your good guy, get your good story out there, so that the kids get their moral, not to steal, cuss, do whatever, lie, and then move on.
Yeah. So, what do you have next, sir?
Dude, I got what I feel like we all have is a fondness for a figure, and I'm going superpowers Batman. That Kenner, blue gray suit, that OG, and I had to look because I kept I was on the fence between this one and the Michael Keaton black costume, from Batman '89. But then when I was looking, I was like, well, the Batman '89 figure actually didn't come out until '90.
Yeah. I had to look at the Toy Biz Marvel because I thought their first ones were 89. They were actually 90.
Well, that was the other crazy thing is when I was doing this, so the DC figures around the same time they started as Kenner and then they went to Toy Biz, and all they did was just re-release the same figures pretty much
Yeah.
in different packaging,
They got the molds and stuff from them.
which was fun. It was weird to me, and that was actually one that kind of made my honorable mentions was the well, from the DC, but it was a Toy Biz actually, and it was the one that come with the kryptonite ring.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So he kind of like would fall over when you put the ring too close to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the Flash. I had that Superman from that. I had that Green Lantern because he's the one where he had like the hole in his hand and the water squirting thing
Yep.
that stuck in his elbow. Um, I will say I had a superpowers figure on here, but mine is not Batman because while the only reason I cared about that Batman at all was because the Batmobile. I like that design for Batman better. That's my preferred. I'm just not as big a Batman fan, but like there was a couple of different superpower ones that stuck out to me, and it's not main people, and it's not even Green Lantern or Flash, which most people probably assume that know me would assume I would pick. But two figures that stood out to me in that. One of them ended up on my list, and one I put in honorable mention just so I didn't have both of them in there. But the one on my list was Firestorm because
Oh, I still have that one.
I still
That's a
have
great
him, and
figure.
he was great. He was very well done. He popped. I like how his movement for his arms didn't really make much sense for his power if you think about it too long. But as a kid, that was just so fun and so cool looking. And actually, the one I have is I have it, and I don't think there's even a single scratch on it because of the fact that I kept up with him. While I had one I played with, I had a second one that I just took immaculate care of. I wish he was still in the package, but that's not the case. But
Somewhere around here, I actually have. I forget where I scored them now. Like I scored them on like a either the thrift shop or something like that. But and I got them all the same day. And they're next to nothing. But and they're all in an amazing condition. I got the Firestorm. I got the Lex Luthor. He still had the battle armor,
oh,
the
that's
snapped
cool.
on. And then I got the Magneto, the Wolverine, and then the figure that I'll have as my final, uh, all at the same time for like next to nothing. And all of them are like immaculate condition. You can tell they were never really played with. They were somebody, an adult collector back then had them, which is crazy.
That's really cool. So we can get to your last one. I'll share my superpowers honorable mentions. It was Doctor Fate.
Oh, that was a good
Doctor
one.
Fate stood out so cool. He had such a cool color palette, and then he was a fun character, and I liked the mystical side. But he had some of Superman's powers too. But I love that. Well, actually, I have two of that figure still today.
You know what was a really fun one of that line that it gets slept on just because nobody cares for him, but that Mister Freeze
I do not
that
have.
you could put him in the fridge or the freezer and he would turn purple. I loved that figure because I was at that age there. I was like enamored with freezing action figures.
Oh yeah, we
I
all
will. I
were. But
was. I was in that phase where like I would freeze him, and then you let him half thaw out, and you like have Mr. Freeze sitting beside him, and he'd be purple. And
yeah.
man,
So I liked every one out of the superpowers line. Like Flash was cool. I like how his running stuff. Green Lantern with his ring and his battery was really cool looking. The Green Arrow was one that stood out to me because he would draw his bow and stuff. That was really cool and
mm,
neat. Shazam was one I liked out of that, but the Shazam I have is in terrible shape. It's missing the cape. It's a lot of the paint is rubbed off, but I'm not willing to buy new versions of them just or newer copies of them just because
the one I
they're so
had back then,
expensive.
I had completely lost the cape, and I think almost all of the hair was like almost
That's
flesh
that's how
colored.
mine is right now. But
You know,
Martian Manhunter was a good one, and I still have him out of that toy line. But
ooh.
I've lost his. I've lost most of them's cape except for Batman, Superman, and Robin. For whatever reason, I still have theirs.
I think I still have Martian Manhunter. And he was actually in pretty decent shape up. I was probably about 14 or 15, and my cousin got a hold of him. I got him back, but my cousin got a hold of him for a
I'll I'll,
short spell.
I'll tell you a sleeper figure in there that was fun, and it was cool because he had the motion that he had. But Aquaman, like, cause you could play with that one in the tub
Mm.
or in the pool and stuff and make him swim. Now he don't hold up very well because if you do that, the paint's gonna come off quicker. But that was one that's fun. And I still have mine down here too for that one. But because I have most of that line, I'm missing like four characters out of that line from having all the heroes.
Flash was like one of the first ones I got at that. I remember picking him up at like a TG&Y, but because you know you could get them on the shorter card, they were cheaper. Even though it was the same figure, if you didn't get the big card, you get they were a little
Yeah,
a small price discrepancy in them. You know,
and TGNY is where I got most of my He-Man from as well.
blast from the past. I miss the '80s.
Oh yeah. So before we get out of the 80s though, we've each got one left, and if there's any honorable mentions, so I'm gonna let you shoot your last one on your top seven list, sir.
Dude, I had to go with what's going to be the biggest character of this year, and I went with Secret Wars Doctor Doom. That was a fun figure. I loved it growing up. I think I traded my Captain America on the school bus for it. I didn't get him brand new in a store. So when I got him, he was already missing the gun. I traded a Captain America. He still had the shield, well, the hologram shield, for the Doctor Doom. But that Doctor Doom, I played with that figure probably I was 12 or 13. Not even ashamed to say it. That figure was a staple, in Hassel's house during this time.
So I had him. I had the Black Spider Man. I had the Wolverine with the little snap on claws. I liked those Secret
Hmm.
Wars figures. None of them actually made my list because, again, as much as I liked them, they didn't stand out as much as some of the other toys that I would put on
Mattel
my
didn't do
list.
a great job with them. It just, I don't know. I had an affinity for it because they were like my first venturing into the Marvel action figure, and I think that's why they stood out to me. I mean, I actually prefer probably the Toy Biz, but that would honestly be into the
So
90.
yeah, like I said, if we were doing a list of the '90s, there was one or two of those from the Toy Biz and it popped on my list immediately. Just to
Oh
look
yeah.
up. Then I realized that's when I realized, oh, the first wave was in 1990. So no, because there's some of them, and I won't share any now, just in case we do come back and do that. The '90s one in the later time. So if anybody wants to hear that, feel free to tell us in the comments, or we may just do it anyway, even if you don't want to hear it, because that's
We
us.
just may want to do it, damn it.
Yeah, but those are really cool ones. But I got to jump back to Kenner because you went to Mattel. But my last one of my top ones was from Kenner, and it was the Silverhawks Quicksilver.
Oh man, that was a wonderful figure. That was another of my. He hit the cutting room floor, so to speak.
That was it was hard not to include him for me because I was like, you know what, posability wise, they're a little bit limited because the
Yeah.
arms are only going to move one way. But man, how could you not love the opening the wings and the bright
Mhm.
back metal colors on them? They're like, ooh, shiny.
Like even with Bluegrass, who just had that guitar pose, like he literally could just do up and down with his
Yeah,
guitar pose. But we all had him, great figure, and I loved Monstar. I think the best out of those. He was probably one of my favorites of that.
I had him. I had Quicksilver. Had Bluegrass, and I will say that if you're talking top overall toy lines and you're talking top vehicles, that Mirage would have to make that list
Oh
somewhere.
man,
But now you can't do just a top vehicle list for just Silverhawk because it was literally like three vehicles. You had Monstar's little squid thing he rode. You had
hmm
I don't remember what they even called it now off the top of my head, but it's the one that was the little like Tally Hawk. It was the big jet one where the wings would pop out of it. That they later remade
yep.
into the Batman glider for Batman '89 movie. And they just repainted it.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that was supposed to be like on the Mirage, how the bluegrass section always broke off by itself. I was like, as a kid, I just always, for some reason, thought that was supposed to be a bigger version of it.
Yeah, and it was actually a whole different ship. And the only reason I remember
Yeah,
that is because there's one episode where where they're testing it out, and then it's hardware rigs it to blow up, and then they have to stop it from doing that because
because you had the button on the top and the wings would come out.
yes, it was really cool. It's just the Mirage though stands out. That's one of those ones that's a great vehicle. Uh,
You know a toy line that we probably should have talked about and didn't, and I'm almost positive it was '80s, late '80s, Starcom.
so I remember it. I just didn't care that much for it, so I don't really have that many memories of it. That
I enjoyed those. They were really neat. You had magnetic figures, some crazy, battery operated movement on some of the stuff. It's compartments that opened up, missiles that come out. I mean, it was pretty neat. And I bought my first one at Watson's store of all place. Like I remember he had a small toy section in the back corner where he kept comic
yeah.
books and stuff. And my call my grandmother because like that was our thing on like Saturday evening. She'd make me do chores all day Saturday after cartoons went off. And we would go down to Watson's to get like a snack. That was our treat. She'd take me
Yeah.
down there and we'd get a soda and a candy bar, some chips or something. And then we'd watch a horror movie that night. That was like the thing. And I remember seeing it up there and it was like $25 back then. But I had worked pretty hard that day. And, we done red tips. I remember vividly because I hated red tips. And she actually bought me the thing because I kept on. Let me please. I'll never ask for nothing else. You always hit them with that.
Well,
I'll never ask for nothing else ever.
and there was a lot of cool action figure toy lines in the 80s we didn't hit on, but like Centurions was cool. There
Yep.
wasn't much for dinosaurs. They did make them, but they were almost impossible to get. But there was Captain Power was really cool because you could actually play with the TV with the jets and stuff.
Hmm.
But I did have one more in my honorable mention that was a different toy line, and I had to go get one from Ghostbusters because I loved all the stuff for Ghostbusters. Now Ghostbusters had some of the coolest role play and vehicle toys, but you
Yep.
had to have the regular Ghostbusters too as well. And Egon was always my favorite, so I had to put him on the list because I had like three or four different versions of him. The regular one, the fright one, where you push his arm down, where he's wearing the white suit and his tie would pop up and his hair would go up.
Eyes come out.
Yeah, I remember a lot
Those
of
were great
those.
figures. Like, and just the pack, the backpack. You twist a little thing on
Oh
the
yeah,
proton, and it was like it was doing the effect. That was very cool back then. Like I said, we had that thing called imagination.
and
So like to
well, and
us, it was
they
like
Ghostbusters as a toy line was so innovative compared to some of those. Like if we were doing toy lines, I probably would have included because every wave of the main there's only four main characters. Every wave you did of the four main characters, you got a different action feature with them. Like the scared ones, I had Winston and Egon. They did different stuff, and then you had the glow in the dark ones where they were like a very bright. Pastel type colors, and they had glow in the dark marks. I had all four of them in that. I had all four of them in
some
their
of the
regular
monsters were like
outfits.
the neatest ones, and they weren't even the monsters from the show. But like I
Oh
remember,
yeah,
like the coolest Wolfman figure I ever had was from the Ghostbusters line.
that was cool. The
They
football.
had
You
a
remember the
pretty
football
neat.
player that opens up?
Yep, I was just fixing to
they
say that guy. His was with a turned into a mouth.
had
Like he
a
bent over and his butt opened up, and then you had the trash can guy.
there was a toilet one too, like that tried to eat them.
Yep.
It had the
The
big
the
eyes where you flush
and there
at.
was an old. I don't remember what she turned into. There was an old woman
Oh, I
that
know what you're talking
turned
about.
in,
Yeah,
and then they started coming out with the ones with a little ghost set on their head. It's like a little translucent ghost that would like had a hole set on their heads and then become a different creature. But I think Ooze might have come with those.
their vehicles were cool too, like the Ecto one. Then you got the Ecto two, which is the motorcycle that transformed into a helicopter, and they were a little bit bigger because those figures were like closer to the 5 inch realm. And like, man, this was
That
fun.
line gets slept on.
It
I've
does.
seen a few of those figures in Ollie's a few times, and I'm like I can't go down this rabbit hole because
No.
what will happen? They only have a handful that they reproduced, right?
Yes.
And there are some of the more ones or basic ones. I know me. I will start going down that rabbit hole, and I'll go back and buy the OGs. And then I have a damn room, and I just don't need to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I feel you there. That's why I don't buy too many of them because it's one of those ones where I love the property. I really enjoy it, but it's
Yeah.
like I don't need to go in down that. I will say that the biggest thing I missed from all the Ghostbuster stuff though was the proton pack and the ghost trap I had because those were fun to play with.
What's crazy is the show, as fun as it was, how do you turn down Ernie Hudson actually being his character from the movie? Like, it's baffling to me. He wanted to do the show, and they thought he wasn't serious about it. They moved on, and by the time he committed to it, they were like, "Oh, we've already got somebody else."
I think a part of that too though is the way they do that, where they do those shows and they had some they would have like 4 or 5 shows that company was producing, so the same voice actors would be on every single show. And I don't mean
And I
Frank
forget who
Welker, who's on
voiced
every
him.
show, but
Yeah, I
everybody
forget who
else.
it was, but he was actually a fairly well-known actor too that wound up being the voice. I'd have to
Uh,
go back and look, but
Arsenio Hall was on one season.
it was our that's what it was. It was Arsenio.
He didn't finish all the seasons. He only did a part of them. And then they changed voice for Winston.
Hmm. There we
But
go. A little trivia.
I think it's because he got his talk show around that time. That's why he left, if I remember right. But again, it's been a long time since I looked that up. But I also get it. Like Frank Welker, aside the point, John Irwin or whatever his name was, who did He Man, did like so many different shows. Uh, what's his name?
Well, it's crazy. Like some of them didn't even change their voice.
Yeah,
Like literally, Quicksilver and Lino,
Larry
completely
Kinney.
the
I
same.
was trying to think of his
Yeah,
name. He's in all those shows that one company was doing.
completely the same. Monstar, Mom Ra, completely the same. They didn't even try.
Yeah, so
Starscream and Cobra Commander.
yeah, all the
But
stuff.
that's a
All the
legendary
stuff that
sound as well.
Filmation did, same voices. The guy who run it did half the voices, and Alan Oppenheimer was in half of them as whoever. So it's like, okay, I get it. They would just use the same people, so it saves them money. But with that said, before we move on to Nerd Out, did you have any more honorable mentions, or did we cover all of yours?
Well, I think we pretty much checked the boxes of what I feel needed to be checked.
Well, with that being said, let's jump in the Nerd Out because we're getting closer on time. We want to make sure we got enough time for this. But for anybody who hasn't been here before, this is part of the show we ask random questions about topics of the day. We respond with little to no prep time to each other. Please feel free to share your answers to the questions in the comments or expand upon ours or ask questions if you want to. Hassel, I actually have 2 questions because I've been holding one for a while that came from when I was talking about this subject with the kiddo. He actually gave me a question. He's like, oh, I'm curious about this question. So I had that, and I had the question I came up with. So I'm going to shoot 2 at you today, but you want to go
Let's
first or you
go.
want me to do one of those first?
Man, if you got two, let's go ahead and fire one off. Let's pull it out of the
So
chamber.
so when he asked me, he's like, "What are you guys recording about this week?" I said, "Okay, here's what we're going to record about. This top 7 figures." He's like, well, "I got a question for you." He said, "Because there's toy lines we probably skipped over and didn't do stuff from." He's like,
Yep.
"What was one of the really good toy lines that had great figures and you liked them, but it wouldn't make your list just because nothing about an individual memorable figure stands out to you?" I was like, "That's actually a pretty good question because there's a lot of ones I had to skip, but I was taking like multiple people off the list. But there was one toy line I had that I didn't, as much as I love it and think very highly of it, I had nobody who made my list because there's nobody who really stood out really different. A vehicle would have made a list for this because I loved one of the vehicles from the show, but the characters themselves, they never did it as individuals."
That's a good question. I'm gonna say probably. Wow, you got me looking around here because I want to make sure that I don't gloss over something because I got one in the back of my mind right now, but I'm scared that I'm gonna just gloss over something. But
I had to think about it. I mean, I had an easy answer, and then I was like, "Well, let me think about that." And then I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's that one."
I'm gonna probably say Captain Power because it was such a cool concept. The figure himself looked pretty neat, but it was like nothing that you just had to have.
That's fair. Um, and I can totally agree with that one. But the one I picked was Cops.
Oh,
As much as I love those toys, they were all kind
mhm.
of interchangeable. So I had a bunch of them. I enjoyed playing with them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing it by any standards because this is one of my top toy lines. And I love that helicopter they had where it had the cockpit where one side was red, one was blue, and
Mhm.
it just looked really cool. And I liked the characters from it. But if I had Highway or if I had uh, Sundown, it really didn't matter. It's still the cop's character. It's not like okay, this person stands out for me to where I would say okay, that one makes this list because they were all kind of just so interchangeable.
That's a line that was probably ahead of its time. And had it come out just a little earlier, you could have played it with your Thundercat because scale wise,
Yeah.
you had the articulation of a Joe, but you had the scale of a Thundercat, which was
Yes.
pretty neat for its time because they were pretty damn well articulated figures. I think they were some of the first I remember that truly had a good bit of mobility to them.
Yeah.
But they were like, I had like one or two, I think. Like literally, I thought it was a neat line, but I didn't press my parents to try to get me
Yeah.
them
I,
because
I
they were a little pricier, and at the same time, it's like it wasn't something I had to have.
I think if you asked me to do a top 10 toy lines, I probably would make that because there were some really cool vehicles in it.
Hmm.
There was some really posable characters in it, and the little popping cap thing, which we'd had in multiple other toys already, was
Hmm.
already kind of cool. But it was just the fact that there's nothing that's like, okay, this one person out of it stands out to make my top 10, my top 7 list. But as a whole toy
Long
line,
Arm
it
is
was
probably
really
one of
cool.
the only one I can even really remember that just kind of stood out to me looking back.
Yeah, and there were several of them I remember. The one who drove the vehicle that had the little barricade and stuff like that, Hardtop, I think was his name. Those were cool. It's just like, but if I'm like, Flint stood out to me from GI Joe, whereas those guys are like cool and I know their names, but they don't like pop immediately in my brain for okay, this is the best toy. It's just the toy line itself was really good if you looked at the overall scale
Yeah.
of it.
And it's one that if it were to make a resurgence now with a viable company, I
Right.
would probably go in for it to possibly complete a set of those.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it's being done the way it is right now, doing it with Big Bad because it's a Hasbro owned property. So
Hmm. But
I'm
you're only getting BP Fest. That's really all we're getting.
well, they've already shown the robot for Doctor Bad Vibes, so they're going to do that next. But
Oh, really?
it's taking them 6 months. It's supposed to be a whole year, and it's more like 6 months to get it. But it's coming out very soon, according to the email I got this week.
Yeah. Well, I hope it goes ahead and hits. I got the same email you got. I literally, you said that. It's like you spoke it into existence.
Which is funny because with
I,
the subject we're doing today, I have 2 toys in my pile of loot. That one's going to go in there when it arrives, and all 3 of them are 80s toys because I have 2 Silverhawks sitting in there. I was like, I don't want to ship those 2 until that shows up, so I'm hoping it gets in there. I've still got plenty of time because those Silverhawks just hit a couple weeks ago,
I
but still.
literally just hit my loot. It'll be here next week. And then I got the email for that. And I said, of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
That tends to happen. But your turn to ask a nerd out question, sir.
So I'm going to ask one that's probably a little more untraditional. It's not about figures. So I'm going to go to the realm of the MCU, so to speak.
Okay.
And the only reason it's kind of mine was because we just watched Waterman, and I kind of dug certain aspects of the show. So, which would you have rather preferred? Do you prefer what they actually did with the actual Mandarin, where he was the 10 rings and he had the little 10 rings, and he was, Shang-Chi's dad? Do you prefer that version, or would you have preferred had they not went the route of Trevor being the Mandarin, what he was when they had him as the terrorist, like America, it's time for another lesson. Like if he just stayed that version of the Mandarin.
I would have preferred that, especially if you'd have gave him the alien technology rings that he later gets or that he has in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred that because, especially if you lean into that mystical almost side of it that they gave him in the comics, because that's now it's magic versus science.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the 10 rings, which are alien and they are, I was like, this is kind of weak because they just took the idea of 10 alien technology rings and gave it to a human and said, okay, do this with it. It's not the same concept. I don't care about it being tied to Shang-Chi. I was fine with Shang-Chi period the way it was without that being part of it. You could have done the whole mystical city and stuff they go to and been fine, but I didn't need that dude to have the rings and stuff. I was like,
His dad could have been the same character, just not the Mandarin, and
yes,
had some kind of gauntlets that done the same thing those done, and I'd have been fine with it.
yeah,
I really dug what they were doing initially with that Mandarin character in Iron Man 3 before you find out he's just a lush actor. Like that
yes,
voice was incredible. His presence, and if he had the fact that the 10 rings was a symbolization for a terrorist organization. So if he'd got captured by Shield at the end of this, they kept him the way he was, and then somehow or another the rings fall into his lap due to like kind of like Green Lantern via falling to Earth, and it
yeah.
just maybe that's how he bust out of prison. He fell into his cell from like an asteroid. I'd have been cool with something like that. Far better than what we got.
Yeah, I didn't like the twist and the way they went with it. I didn't, and that doesn't mean I didn't like Shang-Chi. I actually liked all that, and I really liked the way they did
It's
his
an enjoyable
dad.
movie. I just didn't like that.
But his dad didn't need to be the Mandarin. He could have been his own character,
No,
standing alone by himself. That was my only
that part.
problem with it.
You could have literally sold him as little Jody Chi, and yeah, I'd have been fine with it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw you this last question, and then we'll wind up and get out of here before we run out of time. But so we talked a lot about these 1980s action figures, what we picked up back then.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about current action figures, and a lot of them are redos from the old ones because that's kind of what sells right now with the nostalgia factor. Because everybody who has the money to buy figures at this point is the folks who grew up on those that many years ago. So it's the big
Ah,
thing right now. But looking out at the ones that are coming out right now, are there any current action figures that are out or that have been announced that you think are really good and you'd like to have them, but they're overpriced and you're not willing to pay what they want for them? Because they're good, they just ain't worth what they're asking for them.
I want to say Mask, but the quality is just terrible on those. Um, I don't know. I think I'm at a point with anything Super 7 now like that.
That's fair.
Because, like, literally, I seen where they just, matter of fact, they announced the wave and put it up for pre order the same day for the new Thundercats wave. And I had to go back and look because initially I seen the old man Mum Ra, and I was like, it's the same fucking Mum Ra we already have. It was in wave one, but he comes with an alternate head and an alternate hand, right? And then I looked and I said, okay, the cape's different. Okay. And it's different enough with the other stuff. I was like, damn, I kind of want that, but I don't want to drop $64 on it.
That's fair.
And like the Pharaoh guy from that season was like, I kind of, have a little bit of affinity enough, but I don't want it. And like the Silverhawks, there's several more of those I'd like to have, like the other Hawks, because I have the core group now.
Yeah.
Other than Stargazer, I still haven't found Stargazer. But I'd like to have Stargazer, Hot Wing, Condor, all those guys. I just don't want to spend any more money on them. Like I have the villains I want. I got Buzzer on sale for next to nothing. I have both versions of Monstar. I got the Throne. Yeah.
They overprice their stuff because especially after buying that one Cowboy Moon Mesa I got, he
Hmm.
has so he's the same size as a turtle. I sent you guys pictures. He's the same size as a turtle, same amount of posable points. Like he's got in Super Seven turtles were not like super posable. Like their knees bend 90 degrees and it's a single joint. It's
Now,
not double jointed. This is the exact same build. Got slightly less accessories. He's maybe like a handful of accessories because the turtles come with like the weapons rack and stuff.
yeah.
He's basically the same thing as Super Seven's Ninja Turtles. He costs 35. Like how can they do it for 35? Super Seven's got to charge me 65.
And you know what? I wouldn't have all the turtles I have were it not for the fact I got them on Amazon. Like
When they go on sale.
for the the majority of them I got anywhere from 25 to 35 bucks.
Yep.
I think I have about one. I think I might have Slash is out the one. I think I paid retail, and I had because like I was such a Slash fan. And if I'd have just waited, if I could have been patient, I could have got it on Amazon a year later at a fraction of the cost. But all the others I bought pretty much off Amazon at like 25 to 35 bones, and they're worth that to me. But they're not worth none of that Super Seven stuff is worth
Yes.
$64.
So, and I'll say, I was looking at those, and I almost put that as my answer. Then I realized there was a couple other things that stand out to me. Now, one of these, I'm going to say is probably worth the price they're asking for it because of what it took to build it and the size of it. But I ain't coming off that much money for any kind of toy. But it's that Lewin Resources Metroplex, the 4 foot tall one,
Yeah,
where it's a true masterpiece scale Metroplex because he's in scale with your masterpiece figures. He's almost as tall as he's about close to 2/3 of my height because I'm just under 6 foot and he's 4 foot tall or whatever it is. But like it's $1,600. I'm like that's great, but I can't afford that just to buy an action figure, no matter what it is.
yeah. Your average collector's not buying those, which I mean, it will make them incredibly rare. And on the second-hand market, 10 years from now, they'll be stupidly priced.
So I'll say this: the only way I would ever buy it, because I still have my Galactus in the box and stuff. My HasLab. If I sold him and got at least $600 for him, and this was down to 1,000, I would shell out the extra $400 to buy that, just because
Fair
it's
enough.
huge and it would replace it. Or if I found it on sale for less than $1,000, I might would break down. Even if it went to 900, I might would break down because again, it's a 4 foot tall one. It actually transforms. It's got ratcheted joints everywhere. It's fantastic. It's just I don't have $1,600 to waste on an action figure. That's
And I
that's
will say
that's
that
that's a
it would
house
be
payment.
fun to transform something like that. That would be really fun. But I mean, let's be honest. After your initial unboxing, you're going to transform him one or two times.
Then he's gonna
Then
stand
he's
there.
going on the shelf. So
Oh, he ain't going to shelf. He's gonna
16.
stand in front behind the desk. they're gonna stand.
Well,
They're
I'm
gonna
just
use
saying,
him as a shelf. The other figures will.
1,600 bucks would be hard to do that with.
Absolutely.
Like I said, if you got him like 900, and especially like if you say you sold your Galactus and put that towards it, okay, no brainer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to kind of shell out that kind of cash for stuff. And I mean, secondary the collector's market is pricing itself out.
Well, and it's still that there's still a lot of those stores, even Big Bad, some of them still have that figure in stock because they just couldn't sell them. I'm assuming, but
Mm.
like TF
Obviously,
Source, TF Source did it on sale a few months ago for $1,200, and I was like, that's when I thought, well, what if I could sell Galactus today for 600, and I'd have to show. I might consider that, but I was like, I'm not gonna go fight with that because it was I was out of town. It was on a weekend. I was like, yeah, never mind. It's kind of cool to see it on sale, but yeah, it's one of those where it's cool. But then I watched somebody transform it. That takes some fucking effort to do because the ratchets in that thing are hardcore. They were making sure he wasn't
it
just gonna fall over on you.
it looks like you would have to have a tool, and I've seen several videos for some of the third party masterpiece scales. They have to have particular tools
Yeah,
to kind of fold things just right. And I'm like, I don't. That's too intricate for me.
yeah. Well, I have a spudger sitting right here because you get some of them where you can't
Yeah,
get the joints to move and you got to pop them loose and you can't get your finger in there where these little things can get in there. These are made to take apart computers and work on them anyway, so I get that. But one other figure I got to share and then we'll get out of here. That was really cool and I want it, but I'm not willing to pay the $80 they want for it, which doesn't sound much, but it's a single size action figure. It's not worth 80, but it looks amazing. Is that Loose Collector's Youngblood Shaft? Because I liked
that does look
Youngblood.
great.
Shaft was my favorite character from Youngblood, and he looks just like the original artwork from Liefeld. It ain't worth $85. I'm sorry, I just don't see how that's
All of
acceptable at
those
all.
figures they have done so far look really great, just not at that price.
Not even their Captain Canuck, who's a character
Yeah,
that I read the comics of a couple of times, and there's only a few miniseries out there about it. I was like, man, he would be so cool to just fit with my Alpha Flight team because I have Alpha Flight.
that's literally what I
And
was
he
about to
looks
say.
fantastic, and just looking at the figure, just the paint apps on him is amazing, and the articulation is really good, but he ain't $75 worth.
What would you say you feel is a fair price for that one? What would make Monster buy that one?
If it was, I'll even go to the size of a deluxe Marvel Legends. If it was 50 or less, I'd probably go for it.
That's fair. That's about what I was thinking.
Because
45, 50.
it's a limited amount that they're making. It's an import from overseas. It's like a Mafex, but it's not the same level of articulation and model building as a Mafex. So I'm like, so it's not quite worth what they are. But since I got to get it over here, it's worth probably more than what I pay for a standard Marvel Legends size with the amount of accessories that it has. But in their Marvel Legends size, they fit in scale with them. But it's not a deluxe figure. It's not a super large figure. It's not like your Apocalypse or something. It's normal size guys. I'd give them 50 max because I understand the import, but I'm not paying any more than that for it.
Now, if CT Toys were to listen to this and want to do this, we're just saying, guys,
Yeah,
there's money. There's money to be made.
and I will admit that Superman they're coming out with, I'll probably end up buying that Hush Superman just because I wanted it anyway, fit in with my Mafex Superman characters, but I just didn't want to pay the price for it because
Yeah,
it
I'm
runs
not
pretty
dropping
high.
100,
No,
but at 40 or below, we'll work with that.
yeah. But with that being said, we've been here for a while and we are out of time today. But before we get out of here, Hassel, you got to tell everybody where they can find us at, man.
Man, we are most importantly here on the YouTube. You can find us on Instagram at Nerdy Man Room Show, on Hassel Hutchison on Face page, as well as to Nerdy MR Show on the Twitter.
And also don't forget to go check out our Stay Weird Network on YouTube as well. And you can find our other cohorts from there around as well. Big Rob, you can find on his channel at Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food,
No Chinese food.
as well as here with us when he's able to be here with us. And then Chris Daly, who you can find on his podcast, Fueled by Weird, wherever you find your podcasts. And with that being said, I think we're good to get out of here for today, Hassel. But everybody join us here next time as Hassel gave us the spoiler earlier. We're going to try to do a fun-filled Mount Rushmore style episode, as long as we can line that up with Big Rob's schedule as well. But until then, go enjoy your Geek Weeks.